What's up, everybody? It's Shane, live in the kitchen at Pulse Personal Training because we're having a bit of a nutrition and diet talk today. I had a conversation this week about nutrition with a few people that were all making the same mistake, and I want to bring it to you. We're going to talk about weighing your proteins raw versus cooked. So I'm a big advocate for diet tracking. You should probably have a diet journal. And then when you're doing a diet journal, one of the first things we're going to talk about is calories. Once you've got your calories counting and you've got that down, the next thing we talk about is how many grams of protein are you regularly eating. And that was the conversation I was having with a client when it came out that she was regularly weighing her protein. She was cooking her food, she was putting that food on a food scale, and she was weighing her protein. But what actually came out in the conversation was that she was giving herself credit for eating more than she was actually eating. She was weighing raw product and cooking raw product weight and then counting that as consumed protein. So what that essentially means is if you think of a steak or a chicken breast, those have water. And when you cook a chicken breast, when you cook a steak, that water comes out. So if you had started with something like a 10-ounce serving and you begin cooking that product, you will not finish with 10 ounces of consumable protein. You're going to finish with less than that, sometimes up to a 1/3 reduction in the available protein count. So that is something that for someone who's trying to track their protein, and if you're being told that you need to eat a certain amount of protein every day, you might be giving yourself credit for more than you're actually eating, and you might be leaving food on the table. You might actually be leaving food that you could be eating off of your diet plan because you think you're eating it, but the math shows that you're not. What I mean is essentially that your raw weight does not equal your cooked weight. So you can expect sometimes up to a 1/3 reduction in the weight of the item you're eating. So if what you had started off as a 10-ounce raw piece of meat and you cook it, you need to put that thing back on the food scale to see what kind of a reduction you've got. Because if you write down that you consumed 10 ounces of protein and you're giving yourself credit for having that many grams, but the reality is you only had 6 to 8 ounces of protein in one day, that may not seem like a lot. That may not catch up to you a lot. You're like, oh no, I'm missing, I don't know, what is that, 10, 15 grams of protein per meal. But let's say you make that mistake at 2 meals a day, 3 meals a day. Suddenly instead of 15 grams, it's 30 or 45 grams. If you're missing 45 grams of protein out of your daily plan, unless you're a very heavy person who's eating a lot of protein, 45 grams is going to significantly undercut your progress in terms of muscle retention and stuff like that. It's also going to lead to being hungry sooner than you should be after a meal. If a meal is supposed to have a whole bunch of protein in it, that protein was what was going to keep you full. And if you leave protein out, either because of a mathematical error or just a lack of understanding about the process, you're actually going to end up hungrier sooner than you would have than if you had had those extra ounces of protein. So missing out on this protein might actually be the reason you're snacking between your designated meals. So if you go back to the food scale, add in those extra ounces of protein, you might find that other things that you were snacking on disappear because now you're not as hungry as soon. The protein will actually keep you full longer. So if you are the kind of person who's already made it far enough that you're tracking your stuff, I applaud you. Tracking your diet is going to be the number one way that you make significant progress in either fat loss or muscle gain, either of those things. But then we still have to continue to drill down into those practices. So not only are you tracking it, but are you tracking it accurately? And then we have to talk about how you're tracking it, because if you're not being consistent with how you track, if you started tracking raw weight and you see this video today and you switched to tracking cooked weight this week, it's going to take a week or two for you to adjust to that. So raw weight versus cooked weight, that's a diet tip that I think a lot of people miss out on. But the caveat is you already have to be to the point where you're writing down what you eat, you're tracking the calories, and now you're learning to track the grams of protein. The grams of protein are probably the one that's going to mess everybody up, because if you're messing up your protein, it messes up all the other counts. Food for thought about food. Hope you like it. That's something that a couple of our clients here this week literally had the education on, and we're passing it on to you for free. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. We appreciate everybody out there. Thanks for watching.